like the mega, not just human, the mega woman. Is that it?
Down here.
This is Kate.
Hello.
You girls owe this woman a lot. Love you. And this is before all of the intel that they got. Oh my God, thank you for coming into this. I am so excited to see. And coffee. So basically, there's so much I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
So, Kate Muir. Oh my God, I'm so happy to have you here. I feel like you have massively not just changed my life, but I was just telling all the girls at the team here that what the work that you've spent your whole life doing has made all of our lives better. And I never feel like you get enough credit for that. But you are the OG. You know, you wrote a book about menopause way before I did. And you have been fighting our corner, women's corner, your entire life, I think.
Yeah, well, I feel we've done this together.
Yeah, well.
You know, you just coming on board when we had the idea about the menopause documentary and rocking it and exposing yourself in the way you did, saying, oh, at 44, you know, I had symptoms, I had hot flushes in the makeup chair and, you know, mentioned vaginal dryness on telly. I mean, that changed so many women's lives when we talked about mental health and vaginal. And so, you know, if I get run over by a bus tomorrow, I should be pleased that we did this work, that we talked to women, that, you know, 1 million more women are on HRT than were before this all. And it was lots of people, not just us, but lots of people came to tipping point.
Wait to hear about it. I am just so, I'm going to talk about this now.
Good.
So, how to have a magnificent midlife crisis. And I love the fact that this is the book that's come now. I mean, I guess you've had your midlife crisis.
Very much so, yeah.
And it's safe, in a way, to look back on it now as something you've been through.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And you are going to help other women go through theirs, because it is specifically really women-centered.
It's for women. It's not just a toolbox. I think of it as a large handbag with lots of different things in it. And, you know, it's got a digital detox, it's got hormones, it's got longevity, it's got how to avoid Alzheimer's, and it's just got how to throw all your toys out of the pram and kind of see what happens. And for me, I regretted some of the things that happened quite seriously, like getting divorced and moving out to a flat and leaving the family home. That was massive. And you know, the pain of, you think you break up from a person, but you break up from a family.
Yes.
And much as I'm with my kids again, my adult kids, and we're having a great time together, you're just sad that institution, and you must feel the same as me in some ways,
I do,
that institution no longer exists.
Yeah.
Although that institution, like all institutions, was not perfect
Yes.
anyway. But that said, I feel that I've been given a second life and a second adventure and indeed a second husband. And, you know, that has just been, I just feel really, really lucky, you know, that just in this tide of trouble has come this positivity as well.
I think you talked about a big change and the pain, and you know, there is a knowledge now really that life is suffering. Like, we all kind of understand that this idea of everybody being happy all the time and living a perfect life, it isn't achievable, and you shouldn't really want it to be achievable, because suffering makes the wonderful moments better.
Yeah.
If we just felt wonderful all the time, it would be boring.
Yeah.
But leaving a marriage, which, do you know what the stats are on divorce?
Well, they peak around 44, 45 in perimenopause.
Yeah.
And when kids are a certain age. And, you know, there is this new word, menodivorce. But it is the time when, I mean, I think, you know, our loving mummy hormones go down, our estrogen is going down and up. And that's the other thing. So we're both sort of having these hormones taken away so that we see everything clearly, and it's all very, very raw suddenly. And we don't have those soft progesterone moments helping us to sleep at night. And we wake up and think, I'm going to do something about this. I'm angry. I'm going to change this. And I think one of the big things for me that sort of was a catalyst for this story was the perimenopause. The perimenopausal sex surge also. When your hormones, when your estrogen goes to these huge peaks in perimenopause and then suddenly falls the day after. And lots of women experience, this real kind of last minute out of the box moment in their sex life. And at the same time,
you mean. Like, you mean a really strong sex drive, right?
I certainly
like a real boost in testosterone.
Yeah.
It's like your body going, this is one last chance.
I think it must
get as much shagging in as you can.
I don't know, but it certainly explains those kind of midlife affairs for women and why. And it's also, I think we've worked so hard raising our children. We just, for those of us who've had children, we just can't see beyond that. And that's all that matters. And you do it and you get on with it. And suddenly when you don't have to get on with it, and, empty nest syndrome is a word they use, but it's your nest and you're flying out of it. And one way or the other, you need to leave that nest too. And I don't mean getting divorced, but you need to find a new life, find new friends, find a new career, find a new adventure, travel the world, whatever it is, or, start a charity. Just, you need to do a new thing with that second half of your life because you've been a carer all that time and you don't have to be a carer anymore. You are free to create and do. And one of the things I've written about in the book is this sort of creative renaissance.
Yeah.
And one of the people in it is, of course, our friend Karen Arthur, who was in our first menopause documentary together when we were still wearing COVID masks. And she talked about her menopause and she set up Menopause Whilst Black Instagram. And she's a most amazing campaigner and presence.
And she's such a positive,
Yeah.
she's such a positive energy, Karen. That's what I love about her. She's all about wearing colours and brightening up kind of people's lives.
Yeah.
And when you meet her, you immediately smile because of the colours that she's wearing and her energy. She's a gift.
Yeah.
I think.
And that she went from being a teacher, that she walked out in that job in a hot flush in a depression, got therapy, changed her life, eventually got HRT, but eventually, and then ended up being this amazing fashion designer and far more than an influencer. She's a changer of the world.
Yeah, she is.
And so I talked to her for the book, and really, menopause was just a switch that switched her in the other direction. But we don't know who's turning the switch, when it's being turned, why it's, you know what I mean? It's this mystery moment, but it is, I think, really important. And I'm thinking, our kids' generation, they know what's coming. They know perimenopause. They know what hormones do. They probably won't have a proper crisis.
Actually, having this kind of midlife crisis in a way is essential to a smooth path post.
Yeah.
I mean, just to go back to anybody that isn't quite aware of when does perimenopause start, how long can it last for? Could you just give us a rough, quick synopsis of the peri and the meno?
Yeah, I'm not a doctor.
No.
I've interviewed a lot of doctors.
Yes, you have.
So peri, anytime in your 40s, but earlier if you've got early menopause. And hormones are really hopping around and changing throughout your 40s, menopause at 51. And those particular hormones, it's the fact that progesterone, which is your calming, sleepy, lovely, makes you a lovely mum hormone, is just going straight down like that, tanking it. And then estrogen is going up and down in the roller coaster. And at that point, I must say myself, I'm not an angry person, and I threw a number of things against the wall in the kitchen. And I had 3 kids, I had a mum with Alzheimer's, complex relationship, and I chucked broccoli, a butter dish that broke with all the bits of butter and china in it, a butternut squash, blue poster paint, and a copy of Nigella's Christmas at the wall at all different times over a number of years. And I only realised looking back that those peaks of madness, which were not like me and sort of calmed everybody down because somebody had exploded, that was it. That was the hormones doing, and we've heard about this, the rage in my head. And actually, now that we've taken the rage and turned it into a political rage, and this is political, women's
Yes,
health is
it is
utterly
political.
and of course, we've been to Parliament a lot with this.
Mm.
It's been really worth it taking that sort of boiling
Fury.
kind of need to change things, which we were expressing domestically, but now we're expressing kind of internationally.
Well, it's quite nice to have somewhere to take it.
Yeah.
You know, I hear a lot from women publicly. I did a talk the other day, and I talked a bit about rage and how shaming or shameful it feels to display that when it's not really you. You said yourself, I'm not that person. I'm not that person. I don't really get angry. I'm quite easygoing. But God, when I got angry when I was perimenopausal, the shame I felt straight after, bang, fury, get in the car, crying at the steering wheel, and then just going, I'm really sorry, this isn't mummy, I didn't mean to, because I was out of control.
Yeah.
And I'm never out of control.
Yeah.
It was so frightening.
Your brain changes, and that's one of the big things I talk about in this book, that your brain changes 3 times in life, and it's the 3 Ps: pregnancy, puberty, and the other puberty, perimenopause.
Yeah.
And literally your brain is rewiring. And if you're not taking HRT, which most of us are not at first, your grey matter is going down. So your big computer in your brain is going blue, and it goes up again later on.
Yeah.
But the white matter, all that sort of connective motorway in your brain, is going down. And that's when you go, oh, it's the film that I saw last Wednesday that had Quentin Tarantino in it, but I can't remember. It's all these kind of really, rotten pathways in your brain. And I think one of the things I certainly realized was when I lost my own memory, and I couldn't remember a domestic noun,
And can I just say, because I know you,
yeah.
you are fiercely intelligent. You were a journalist for the Times for 30 years, foreign correspondent in God knows how many different countries. You are one of the smartest women I know. It must have been very hard for you, Mrs. Memory Box. Quite frightening, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like writing, I'd been forgetting people's names, and I thought, that when I was a film critic. But then I forgot, I was writing a shopping list, thought, must shave my legs. And I wrote down the word shaver, and I thought, definitely another word for the thing in the bathroom or a pink thing.
Yes.
And I couldn't remember. And I remembered 15 minutes later it was called razor. And that's when I rang all my friends. And that's when I said, I've got Alzheimer's, everybody. What are we going to do?
That's exactly what I thought. It's exactly what I thought.
But really, I was so scared because my mum had died of Alzheimer's like the year before. So it was totally in my head that women of a certain age lose nouns very slowly, cover up for themselves. My mum, really smart, been a personnel manager and volunteered at the Citizens Advice Bureau, proper person. And suddenly her losing her nouns, I was really aware, and I thought, oh, that's me. This is going to happen to me. I've got Alzheimer's. And, it's really, really frightening. And then I rang all my friends who'd got HRT privately. And had, because I'd been to the doctor twice and that hadn't been of any use, and I'd had heart palpitations and all that, lots of menopause symptoms.
Can you talk me through your symptoms that you had? Just because, again, it's quite helpful for anybody watching or listening that might kind of go, you've just mentioned palpitations. Lots of people don't know that heart palpitations are a symptom of
huge. Our survey, which we did, as you remember, 44% of women get heart palpitations in perimenopause and menopause as hormones fluctuate. So your hormones are going up and down, and the electricity in your body is going haywire. Your heart goes a little bit haywire. It's not going to kill you, but oh my God, you're so frightened. And it happened to me all the time at 4 a.m. when my estrogen or whatever was at its lowest. And I'd wake up panicking, that anxiety at 4 a.m, and my heart doing the Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. And I got all these, tests on the NHS, which must have cost them a huge amount of money. And they said, you're absolutely fine. You're drinking too much coffee. I was like, I always have 2 cups of coffee. This is not different. And then I got HRT privately because I didn't get it off the NHS at first. And of course, my heart palpitations disappeared within a day. They just did not come back ever. And within about a week, I was remembering all the words I wanted to remember and all the faces and all the people. And then a few months later, I got really, really angry. And I began to think, if I, as, middle-class investigative journalist, have ended up having this struggle, which has sort of created a mountain of pain for everybody around me, what about the people who are not being informed? And what about the mental health aspects of menopause? That was huge for me. I thought, it's not the hot flushes, it's the fear, it's the Alzheimer's, it's the memory, it's the depression, it's the anxiety.
And it's the anger.
Yeah. So the mental health thing, which I think in that first documentary, when we had women going, I thought I was going crazy. I just didn't understand. I was a changed person. And I think the mental health thing was the one thing that really talked to women out there. And I'm really proud we did that.
Yeah. I also feel that it's such a lonely place. It was that we all felt like no one else knew what was happening, and no one was talking to each other because we were all embarrassed to be in this place.
Yeah, even when you talk about shame, there was this big ball of shame we were pushing away, kind of in front of us, weren't we, all the time? And now that's not the case, but you talk in other countries, and I'm doing the European Space Agency menopause talk, and you've got to go in and talk quite differently because they are not talking in the down to earth, honest way that we are talking.
And they want science.
Yeah, menopause in space. Yeah. But it is really interesting in Europe and elsewhere that the conversation has not exploded, and it's so important that we continue doing this. And I also think in terms of sort of longevity and long-term health, there's a whole new thing that I'm thinking about now and reading the science on, which I wrote about in the book too.
I mean, we touched on, you've talked about your mum having Alzheimer's, and so just to give people a bit of context, when we were filming our documentary and we were talking to Lisa Mosconi, who's the most amazing neuroscientist from New York. Is she from New York?
Yes,
Italy, but then she lives in America, and she's doing amazing research into the brain and perimenopause and menopause and hormones. And I was going to interview her about what she'd discovered. And the day I was going to interview her, my dad died of Alzheimer's. And it was such a, mad thing. But so I've always been nervous and afraid of getting Alzheimer's, as, we know it can be a genetic kind of gift that relatives leave you. But also our hormones play an enormous part in our brain health. And HRT recently, there's been new science that's come out, new research. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And I know that you're not a doctor, but I know that you have interviewed. Yeah. So I'm just giving you a little...
I've talked to Lisa Mosconi and Dr. Roberta Brinton, who are the two big brains behind thinking about hormones in the brain. And when we were doing our documentary, we were showing those pictures of the brain pre-menopause and post-menopause, and you could see literally the change in the energy level in the brain just by looking at it. And I think that visual sort of told us a lot. Lisa Mosconi's book, The Menopause Brain, is terrific. So and quite simply, estrogen helps your brain work. Estrogen is really good for protecting you against neuroinflammation. And and by also keeping you in good health elsewhere in your body in terms of sleep, in terms of relaxation, in terms of ability to exercise, that whole package helps prevent you getting Alzheimer's. Now, it doesn't work completely for everybody, but what we have is a huge study of the American database, which has got about 400,000 women in it. And Dr. Roberta Brinton, who's been studying this for 30 years, then found out that if you are on HRT for basically any decent length of time, even 5 years, you're 58% less likely to get Alzheimer's. And if you're on it for 6 or more years, you're heading up to 79%.
Can I just park the car there just for one moment? That is nuts.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is not out there enough. I still feel like there are so many people that have no idea about that statistic, and that's why it's so important what you do.
Yeah.
I call myself an amplifier, and I really think that you're the same, that you know all the experts and you amplify their message, how valuable that is, because that is, you know, how many women are out there feeling like we did, that they've lost their memory. They can't even find the neural pathway.
But also being a carer, as you know, for someone with Alzheimer's,
Yes.
worst thing, the sort of thing that nearly broke me was, and I wasn't there all the time, we had carers, but, you know, occasionally it would all fail and I'd be up there feeding my mum in hospital because she didn't want to feed herself anymore. And when your mum thinks you're her mum, I mean, it's absolutely awful. And if I can prevent one person going through that and their kids going through that, looking after them, then that's really, really important. And I don't think it's necessarily as simple as just estrogen. Estrogen isn't a cure for Alzheimer's, and testosterone may have a part and progesterone may have a part. But what we know is another statistic for you. Women who go into early menopause are 35% more likely to get Alzheimer's. So what is missing in their lives?
Yes.
That there's 25 years or 20 years or whatever where they're high and dry with no hormones. And the hormones mean you sleep and you don't get hot flushes. And people who sleep 4 hours a night, like Margaret Thatcher, are more likely to get Alzheimer's than people who sleep 8 hours a night. And that's basically your brain doing the recycling. So it's the whole health package, but hormones are part of getting you into that package. And not everyone can take hormones. And if you can't, then you're working really hard on your health and your exercise and your diet, like McDonald's diet or, burgers and milkshakes. You can see in the brain scans of the diet of someone who's been eating ultra-processed food, and you can see the Mediterranean diet with fiber and vegetables and olive oil. They are different brains within months.
Yes.
And so the ultra-processed brain, we do not want, and we want hormones. So I think the Alzheimer's thing is huge. And 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients are women.
Why is that? Because of estrogen.
Hormonal, because we run out of hormones first, and men are hanging on to testosterone until they're about 80 quite often. And we have nothing. And that's why we suffer this more. And we only notice as we live longer that that's what's happening. And we can make a big difference just by talking about it. And I've been talking to Alzheimer's research who are really beginning to take an interest in all this.
You mentioned testosterone there, and men sort of, they do a very, very gradual decline, and we're kind of plummeting. There's something quite big has happened in the UK recently regarding testosterone and being able to get a licensed testosterone for women, hasn't it? Could you just explain what's happened?
Well, there's the testosterone. We were all using the male testosterone, those of us who could get testosterone as part of our menopausal hormonal package.
Just for clarity, you did, I did.
I did, we've got it. So there's a new pink tube. It has to come in a pink tube. It's called Androfem. And it looks like toothpaste, actually. And you can just exactly. Well, actually, you just need a little pea-sized blob, and it's fine. Or you can measure out very carefully. But you get the exact amount. It's very hard to measure out the male.
It's very hard.
And getting it right is great because guess what? We have not grown a moustache.
No.
And I love the level of fear-mongering around testosterone. I think it's hysterical and incredibly old-fashioned and incredibly set in its ways. Even from the high end of the medical establishment. I mean, this is a hormone that we've got receptors for all over our body, and especially in some places like our brains and our vulvas. And, the idea that it's just been there as a joke for all these years and it's not an essential female hormone. I mean, do the maths, kids. It's like it's like they're almost unable to see the kind of building blocks of a female body. And they're talking about it as a fun extra for libido. And indeed it is, but some of us had a libido, without it. But it is really interesting for brain, for
Yes.
muscle. I feel I remember you saying to me, sometimes I've got a big meeting and I put on a bit of test. What did you say?
No, basically, what I had, my libido didn't suffer too much, but the difference that happened for me when I took testosterone was I got me boss bitch me back. So I walk into a meeting, and I remember 3 months after I started taking testosterone, I walked in and I was like, hi, sit down. I'd prepped, I sat down, I knew what I was doing, I knew what I wanted to say, and I was like, I thought, oh God, I felt like I had disappeared. That thing that women say when they have perimenopause, when they go, I don't feel like myself anymore.
Yeah.
I've lost something.
I'm invisible.
I'm invisible. I don't feel joy anymore. I can't, what?
Yeah.
I'm just gone. And I was like, oh, I'm firing on all cylinders. That's what I got back. And it was the missing link for me. And I mean, I know that's dangerous saying that because it's not always that for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you don't get low testosterone, mine was quite low.
Yeah, I had none.
And it did make a difference because it had dropped so much.
Yeah.
And once you get your estrogen and your progesterone sorted, it is as simple as a blood test to see if you need it or not, right?
Yeah. And also the amount of testosterone we're talking about it. I mean, you're making it sound like superpowers. It's what you would have had when you were 40.
Yes.
So it's not, there's nothing shocking about this, but there is this huge fear out there in the world. And, it is part of our next little bit of liberation is liberating our hormones and the truth around those sort of hormones.
And I think also, I mean, if you take it correctly, you don't get any side effects because, like you said, you're just revisiting where you were at when you were 40, 45.
Yeah. So it is available, but not on the NHS yet. But the cream is available in the right amounts. And hopefully the NHS will take it on. And there are some amazing doctors out there who are fighting everywhere for us and talking about it and really, really thinking. And then there's a sort of institutional fatberg of people who just want to keep everything the same.
Yes.
And there's a sense also
Why is that?
That the idea that HRT is a kind of, happiness juice that we just do for our skin kind of thing.
Yes.
You get a lot of that. People say, oh, yeah, do you take it to look good? And no, we don't. We take it to feel good inside and look after our brains and look after our muscles and look after our bodies and look after our thermal regulation.
Yes.
And the idea that this is a decadent little extra, rubbish.
Well, it's insulting.
And it's so and it's slightly treated still like that by the medical establishment when the question should be, I think, why are you not taking HRT? And I absolutely understand because I've got lots of friends with breast cancer, what they're doing and why, and it's really complicated. But for the majority of women, this is so protective. Transdermal HRT now, the safer kind, the body identical.
That goes through the skin, doesn't it? Transdermal.
Super safe. And, why not have it back? Why have a creaky older life? Why be sad? Why struggle? And I'm really interested in osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Because this is huge. And I suddenly realized we did a big campaign called Give Your Bones a Break, where we wandered around with skeletons and things like that and did a lot of daft stuff. But, simply this, I want to tell the government, can we do this? Can we trap Wes Streeting here for 5 minutes and tell him, yeah, we'll do that. So we need to tell him, one, the majority of osteoporosis patients are women. Why is that? Because their hormones run out. What happens at menopause? Well, Wes, our hormones go down by 20%, 10 to 20%. Our bone density goes down by 10 to 20%. And that's when women start breaking their wrists at 60 when they trip over. And that's when people start needing hip replacements. And that's when, they start dying of terrible injuries. And we don't need to do it. Hormone replacement therapy in all these big studies, you can get around 7 to 10% increase in bone density. Start early, protect early. We can throw our Zimmer frames away. Why is no one having this conversation? Why are we giving women drugs after they break a bone? Why are we giving them DEXA scans after they break a bone?
Right.
It's daft. I mean, it's just silly medicine. And they could save billions a year just by getting women on HRT early, particularly those at risk. And we're not doing it. And it's just a no-brainer. You know, hormones make bones. End of. Government, listen, you know.
I mean, and you talked about the cost, right? And I think it's also really interesting to look at the economic cost of perimenopause and menopause on women and Britain. And it's fascinating because women leave the workplace, women leave schools, nurses leave their profession because they just can't cope. The cost of that is so huge.
Yeah.
And with just a little bit of support, it's that women are shamed about taking hormones still.
Yeah.
Now, I can feel it
Yeah.
often. If I say to somebody at every talk that I do, and I'm sure you get the same thing, have you thought about taking HRT? Oh, no. It's like literally that kind of embarrassment. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. And we've got to change the story because not only would it be better for them, but if government want to think about it, the amount of money. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about in the workplace even?
So the statistics are 1 in 10 women are leaving their jobs because of menopause symptoms. And that's a survey of 4,000 women around Britain, all different ethnicities and economics. So it's a huge thing. And also the very places that women are leaving are things like the police, the health service, and they can get pensions. They've worked their time, they'll get their pension, they'll leave, and you lose a nurse at 50. You know, that is a genius of value, you know, and experience and knowledge. And you cannot replace her with a nurse of 22, great as that is. And the cost is just extraordinary. And we treat people so badly. And I mean, I've been in hospitals talking to nurses and they can't get a menopause appointment in their own hospital. And you think, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
You have just thrown, you know, hundreds of thousands down the drain by not listening to this one woman who is saving lives every day. And that's, you know, it's absolutely got to be called out all the time.
I think as a really smart woman, you must see solutions everywhere, and it seems insane that people aren't doing it. I mean, how frustrated do you get?
Odd that I'm not running the government.
Yes.
But I completely feel that, you know, you can see very clearly, and we've discussed this with Menopause Mandate, if we put HRT and this hormone conversation about longevity into the 45, 40-something doctor's appointment that you go in to get, that would cost nothing and really maybe change a lot of people's lives. And it might stop hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people getting Alzheimer's and osteoporosis and, you know, diabetes.
Because I feel like so many women don't even really know about it.
What, the doctor's appointment?
Yes.
Yeah, you're supposed to get one around 45.
Yes.
But I don't
think
remember
I ever
getting one.
I didn't ever have it.
And you're supposed to be told everything about, you know, your risks of osteoporosis and high blood pressure and diabetes and all those things, and said, why don't you take more exercise, etc., etc. But hormones don't, and menopause was not mentioned in it. And I don't think they've changed it yet. And it would be a very simple thing to do. And we have this huge resistance. And I just think it's because this knowledge isn't out there. And I love the science because the science is a joy, because every time you pick up a book or a new paper, it says, wow, we can stop this, we can protect this, we can help this, we can lower the chances of diabetes. And particularly,
this is all new, isn't it? I mean,
it's the last few years.
When we did our documentary, since then,
Yeah.
we were kind of cowgirls talking about like take HRT, and actually a lot of what you were talking about has been proved right.
Yeah, well, but the science was there. Just people didn't know enough about it. And actually, there's even older science that looks really good. But it was mostly on the old synthetic HRT that was basically like ultra-processed food. And now we've got the good kind of fresh organic food in terms of copies of our own hormones.
Yeah.
And the medical establishment, the NHS, are still getting those two things muddled. You know, plastic apples real apples. And, it's that simple. And I ran it all through AI the other day for a piece I was writing. And guess what?
What?
ChatGPT
Doesn't know.
Can't tell the difference. Well, it can if you go into incredible detail. But if you ask ChatGPT about HRT, it says it will give you blood clots. Here are the risks. And of course, we know that the kind of HRT, the transdermal kind, is like WD-40 in your veins and is actually preventing you getting sort of vascular problems and things like that.
And it carries no risk of blood clots.
And yeah, so basically, there's this bulk of
terrible
evidence.
Imagine how many people are asking ChatGPT.
And the other thing, you just asked the basic question, is it safe to take HRT? Well, girls, no, because history tells us, and that is what we're up against. So we're up against a whole new level of trouble. And also because people only go to that one kind of Google answer, or Perplexity answer, or whatever it is, they don't look any further because they think, oh, that's right. And, you go through it and you think, oh, well, wait a minute. So I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, the other thing that is terrible is how many women are so frightened of hormone replacement therapy and they're getting the symptoms, and how many private doctors or people, I don't want to kind of vilify or villainize private doctors, but some people will kind of come up with loads of other illnesses and things that syndromes and things that you can have that will keep somebody in a cycle, in a loop of, like, no, I haven't got that. I've got this. I can't take hormones.
Yeah.
And actually they could take hormones, because somebody said to me the other day, oh, well, I can't get the bioidentical or I can't get the body identical HRT. I'd have to go private. I said, no, the gold standard hormone replacement therapy that you get is on the NHS.
Yeah.
But people don't know that either. It's like, and we've been doing this, you've been doing this for
5 years.
5 years. And it feels like it's so slow.
I know. Yes, throw things. Let that rage come. That's the post-menopausal rage we're seeing here.
So let's we've done that.
Oh, yes, sorry.
But what we would like to never apologise, Kate Muir. You are amazing.
Oh, good.
So we've talked about HRT, and we would, if you can, we would highly recommend it to help it. Do not wait until it gets so bad.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? British women are like, I'm going to wait until I really, really need it.
I know. Why suffer? I don't understand it. And I think it's because we've done so much suffering with our periods and our childbirth. And, you've written all about that. We've done a ton load of suffering. This is only a little bit of suffering added to the top. And absolutely, this is where risk begins. And the suffering is a risky time for us. And it's not just keeping calm and carrying on. It's keeping calm and getting sicker.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to make that clear, that you really need to start
unlike
looking
other
after
times,
yourself. Yeah.
This is actually a time when you do need to look after yourself. The minute the symptoms start thinking about what you're going to do.
The other stuff like
exercise
and weightlifting.
Yeah.
We love weightlifting.
Strength training, definitely.
Yeah, anything like that. And just not eating any crap.
Yeah.
A bit of crap.
A little bit.
But mostly not. Yeah.
You are never too old to learn something new. I used to be so terrified of tech, but I started using Adobe Express, which is the quick and easy create anything app. And it's one of our sponsors too. And I use it to tell my story my way. It's about impact.
Davina,
Yes.
did you mean to export this poster of Michael to such a large size?
As I was saying, it's never been easier to bring your ideas to life. Yes.
Just checking. These stickers that say ready to wear, they're also for you too?
Yes, those are for me. Merchandising is an important revenue stream. I work with Stephen Bartlett. I'm an entrepreneur. Look, whatever your business, side hustle or random, I've got an idea moment is, Adobe Express gives you everything that you need to design it, share it, and make it real. So head to adobe.ly/Davina to get started.
Did she really use the generative AI teaching the cats and DJs? She loves Adobe.
So, obviously, in a midlife crisis, perimenopause, menopause is like the foundation of the crisis. But what other things do you think trigger a midlife crisis? You're talking about divorce rates,
Yeah.
and grieving. And what I like the way you talked about grieving the loss of a family unit.
Yeah.
And there's something about menopause that's also grieving. I think
Yeah.
a crisis, a lot of it is around grieving. How did yours hit?
Oh, I suppose, I mean, my mum died of Alzheimer's, and like you, and let's give her a name check, Ella Muir. Fantastic. And I've only really come to terms with thinking about her in sort of 10 years on after she died. Because at the time, you know, that slow death, that living grief that you sit with Alzheimer's, is you lose someone bit by bit by bit. And I remember realizing that she had Alzheimer's properly. And, you know, people repeat stories and they're getting old and da-da-da. And I came back and I flew up from London and I stayed with her. And I said, I'm just going to go and wash my hair. And then I came back out again after I'd done it. And she said, oh, you're here. And I thought, oh, no. She didn't realize I was in the house from 10 minutes sort of before. And a couple of things happened like that. And I went to the pub with my friends in Glasgow. I got absolutely hammered. I got so hammered I couldn't take the bus home. And I got in the taxi and I cried all the way in the taxi back to my mum's flat. And, you know, that was the moment I lost her, you know? And you must know that too. Yeah. And it's the same, that moment when you realize that part of them is dying in front of you. And it just makes me so keen to talk about it and do anything you can for the other people who might have the APOE4 genetic variant, that the inherited Alzheimer's. So I suppose that happened, and that was grief. And then, you know, also I think you can't almost get divorced when your parents are still alive. And the minute they're not, you know, I couldn't have dealt with the two at once.
Yes.
But in a sense, I could. You know, I just had run dry. There was nothing left. You know, I was keeping walking and talking, but actually I was just empty. And I was empty for about 3 years, I think. And I lived by myself and sort of rebuilt my life. And I bought an old house and did it up. And, you know, I think actually rebuilding your life and almost rebuilding a home. That
and
is
rebuilding
a big deal.
yourself. It's
Yeah,
like
and this home is you. It's not someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing for women who get divorced, is to go, even if it's one room, but it's their room.
Yeah.
And there's no one else telling them what to do or what they want. Yeah. And I think it's really good to be on your own for a while. I mean, you were too, weren't you? And it's kind of cleansing.
How old were your kids?
My littlest one was 15. So that was really difficult and really hard on her. And I really regret that. Although we're actually much closer now than we might have been in a way, but it was, yeah.
That's the interesting thing about the calamity I was saying, that I think every experience, doesn't matter how hard it is a place for learning and growth.
Yeah.
And depending on how you deal with it, you know, obviously you dealt with it well, and it's meant that you've become closer because of it.
Yeah, well, they dealt with it well too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really proud of the way my kids still dealt with it too, and in a very kind of graceful way in the end, which was extraordinary. And you know, my ex-husband dealt with it in the end in a very graceful way too. And that is like, oh, phew, you know, that's you come a long way when you get to that stage. And obviously, being Scottish, never talked about myself or my feelings. A Scottish Presbyterian, and obviously psychotherapy, a stupid idea that only weak people did. And then a friend of mine, Satnam Sanghera, said to me, we went for a walk, he said, I think you should probably get a therapist. And he recommended a friend of a friend, and she was fantastic. And she was really feminist and really tough. And she said, do this, write a letter. You know, she didn't just sit there going, how was your childhood? She was my kind of therapist.
Was she the first one you tried?
The only one. Well, yeah, couples therapy. One should never go to couples therapy. It's just hell. But the actual, my own therapist, I went for 18 months.
That's amazing that you found someone that was right straight away. Because I feel like if you don't get that feeling that you've got,
you could,
try again and again and again, because if you see a therapist, that's exactly how you should feel. Like they get you.
Yeah. Yeah, and she just talked me off the tree, basically. And I have one thing that she really did was making me feel more self-compassion, which I was very bad at, and we all
Really?
were bad at. And she'd say, well, you did quite well, and you've dealt with that, and it's okay. And I was like, oh, yes.
Sorry, I wanted to reach out to you, but that's a really, but yeah,
No, we've got to be kinder to ourselves. And I just hadn't seen a lot of things. You can be quite good at listening to other people's stories, which is what you and I do all the time, and drawing them out and having the conversation. But you're just funneling that, but you couldn't do it to yourself.
What happened to you when you found more self-compassion?
I'm just happier. I'm more relaxed. I really, really, and I have more time for other people who have had a lot of crap. I can see where they're coming from much more clearly. I suppose there is that sense of, I know where you are, and I know what you. And also, I think talking to midlife women. I mean, often I'll go into an office and do a menopause talk, and then I'll meet someone afterwards and be having a coffee, and they'll just tell me their whole life story. I'll tell them the whole life story, and then we'll talk about vaginal dryness together. And it is just. It's lovely, right. And we're completely honest, and we're completely direct, and it's as though we've known one another for 40 years. And I think that is what being smashed down and then rebuilding kind of does to you, and that you all really appreciate that you are all kind of rebuilt people or rebuilding people. We're always rebuilding. And I love that. I love this community. Yeah, it's like my second wave of feminism after my kind of baby student wave of feminism. And I love these women. And I love being among them.
You do anything for them, right?
Yeah. So we do. And
so nice.
It's just, and that has been a fantastic thing.
I do just want to touch on vaginal dryness because it is something that people are still embarrassed about. And I didn't really have a massive problem with that at the beginning, except I was getting a bit sore when I wiped myself after going to the loo. Like there wasn't enough like liquid, or I didn't have enough sort of discharge to wipe. And I was like, oh, it's a bit sore.
Yeah.
But when I started taking HRT, it kind of made it a little bit better. But interestingly, at about 51, I noticed quite a big difference, and my intercourse was a bit more painful, and I thought, oh, I know exactly what this is. I'm going to go and get vaginal estrogen, and it is amazing. I talked about reopening your shop in menopausing, because no one. Even somebody now we know with, but you should always talk to your oncologist, but it has now been proven safe for women who've had vaginal estrogen receptor breast cancer. You can start taking it in your 70s or 80s if you've never taken systemic HRT before, and you're not going to start taking that. You can still take vaginal estrogen.
Yeah.
It would make an enormous difference to all women, right?
Yeah. It's Chanel for your vagina. We spend all this money up here, down there. And also what I wrote about in the book, I did a whole chapter on the Vagibiome. So the vaginal microbiome, all the chat about, the Tim Spector microbiome in our stomachs. And of course, it's all going on down there with the lactobacilli in our, it's a party down there. And basically estrogen feeds the party. Estrogen is keeping it going, and a bit of testosterone too, lots of testosterone receptors down there. So if you're putting your estrogen back, then all the good bacteria thrive all the way across your vulva from your clitoris. And they also thrive in the urethra. So UTIs are halved in 70-year-old women. There was a big study by starting vaginal estrogen. Just imagine UTIs being halved. So they're not going on antibiotics 7 times a year.
So important.
And you think about old people's mums in kind of care homes who are getting older. they are not being told that unless they've got the most enlightened and smart doctor. And even when they're told that, they fear putting hormones down there, and it's just the tiniest amount, and it's just like cream or a pessary. But it could make a huge difference to UTIs. Does the government mention that in any of its UTI advice to people? No, it does not. And you know, it just should be doing that. It's such a simple thing. Why? Shame. Has to be shame. Has to be the fact we can talk about our stomachs everywhere, but we can't possibly talk about, you know, the microbiome in our vaginas. And, you know, keeping it happy is so easy.
And number one, it's painful having a dry vagina, so it hurts. So that will affect work. And this is something that is completely safe and nobody's talking about it. Number two, when my grandmother, Pippi, came to live with me, so I lived with her. She saved my life when I was a little girl. I lived with her for 10 years. And then she came to live with me when she got dementia. And she had a carer coming because I was working and everything. But it was great having her there. And when she got a UTI with a bit of dementia, it was horrific because it would make her have a very deep psychosis where she would be trying to climb out of windows. I mean, she was a danger to herself. So UTIs in the elderly, you know, if you could do something about that, which we can, and not have to give antibiotics and make them occur less. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened to my mum. And she ended up in hospital with a UTI, and then she never went home. She went to a care home after that. And so the UTI is also a big thing that
we can
you
help.
just think it's tiny, but actually it is life-changing for so many people. So yeah, but it's great that we have these answers. It's just getting them out there and telling women and getting it to every community, everywhere, you know, it really, really matters.
It did make me giggle a bit. There was a vaginal estrogen that came out that was called Gina.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thought, like, what is that like vagina? Like,
I've never known how to pronounce it, have you?
Vagina. Oh, I'd like some vaginal estrogen, please.
But didn't you think labia were labia?
Yes.
Labs.
Labs. Is it
Well,
labia?
I think they're labia, but that could just be posh people's labia. And other people may have labs.
I've got labs for sure.
You can say, but all these things. But I just go and pronounce any of these words and don't worry about them because who knows what these medical
No one knows.
are.
I'd also like to talk about, because you were very candid as well and talked about an affair that you were, I think you were ashamed of really at the time with your family and everything. Do you mind talking about that, sharing about that?
I mean, I had, very stupidly, I had an affair with a married man. But I needed someone in lots of ways. It wasn't just about a sort of sexual affair, because that was important. But I needed support, and I was wanting support when my mum was dying, and just have a safe place to go where it would be about me being looked after, being loved by someone. And there literally wasn't time for that at home. And so having that pocket, and I think the secretness helps also, that it's in a different
exciting
bubble.
Or like, is it the secretness that makes
it? Well, I suppose so, but it was also just quite difficult and quite sad and quite addictive. It was really addictive. I think it was my addiction of that time, and I'm really glad it's over. And you know, we broke up, and you know, but then
it's part of your journey, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it was just like sort of opening the paint can.
Yes.
It was sort of letting it let a lot out. And also I felt sort of seen as well. You know, there was that. But then I went on the date. So we broke up, and, you know, I'm living on my own. And I went on the dating apps. And I went on
which
Guardian Soulmates.
Okay.
And this is quite...
Guardian
Soulmates is great.
Good?
It was. We should start a new dating app that's proper like that.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. It would be so much
for
better.
midlifers.
Yeah, proper one.
A
So
proper
there were
one.
lots of emails and lots of long discussions about, just complex things about what you read and what you did. No, and I don't know my left from my right, so the swiping is very difficult for me. I have a lot of trouble with that. Anyway,
swiped
so
the wrong way.
Anyway, lots and lots of emails, and I met a lot of nice men. Really, I met a diver, a psychotherapist, a librarian, a Scottish nationalist, and I just went out every week. I did one a week, and I met them for a coffee or in a bar for one drink, and I met a great load of people.
And did you know after a coffee or a drink?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
But I didn't think about it as yes or no. I thought about it as a sort of story I was in. And I think that's the way to think about it.
Go on,
'Cause
tell
otherwise-
me.
Well, no, just the idea that you meet all these different people, and they're interesting people because they've probably been through a lot too, these kind of guys. So I think they were nice on the Guardian Soulmates app. Anyway, as it turns out, I'm on there and you have a nickname, and my nickname was, ironically, you go under a pseudonym. So that was quite sad. So I'm ironically. And I get a message from someone and he says, I recognised you. We were at university together. We were in law class. And I realised, oh my God, that's Cameron Scott from my law class. Wore bad jumpers, wore Pringle jumpers with triangles and, diamonds on. We were mates and we, had coffee together, but we never went out or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we both did philosophy of law. And
Wow.
as
I
it
bet that's an interesting degree.
and then we met up and moaned about all the other people we'd been dating on Guardian Soulmates. And then we fell in love. And that's how that was so nice. So
Can I ask you, do you mind me asking you how old you were when that happened?
54.
Wow.
I'm now 61.
Wow.
Yeah, and we got married in New York last year.
Wow.
In fact, we eloped.
Oh my God,
and,
wait.
And got married
You
in
stand
City
up for
Hall.
my shorts,
Oh,
Sam.
yes, get your
Look,
shorts on.
goosebumps again. Goosebumps again. I love that, Kate.
Yeah. It was so
Can-
nice.
How did your ex feel about that?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
he sent me congratulations.
So that's nice.
Oh, yeah, no, he sent a very sweet email.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
How did your
got
kids
new
feel?
life. The kids were great.
Oh.
And my daughter was there because she lives in New York. So she was our best man and witness and whatever you know. But it was great. So we got married in City Hall, $55. Can recommend that.
Wow.
A big queue of other people going in, people in double tuxedos, people in dresses made of meringues from New Jersey. It was absolutely fantastic. People getting married in an emergency. And then we had dim sum in Chinatown afterwards and went and hung out with our friends in New York. And actually, when I get to a second wedding, it's really not about all the aunts and uncles and the people.
Yeah.
It was kind of just us, the two of
Yeah.
us. And it was really nice. And I wore tartan.
Did you?
I wore a tartan suit.
Is there what clan is there?
Oh,
a
yeah,
clan.
no, not really.
No.
But it was just it was just really nice. It was a really wonderful kind of end to this mad ride of kind of survival and struggle. And, it felt like and my partner had been through a lot too. So it was really nice to kind of do that.
For anyone watching or listening, like, it's a journey, life, and this book is about navigating a tricky part of that journey. Can you explain what it feels like to go from that to where you are now and how you feel?
Oh, wow. Do you know what? I'm not sure that I can. I just feel, I feel like I've grown up, but I'm also 12 again, because there is that sense of just being utterly you in the way you are. You were 12 almost before you have to deal with anything feminine or masculine or anything. You're just climbing trees and causing trouble and I feel like I'm just climbing trees and causing trouble and being very, very happy about quite simple things. And I think it's a kind of curve that comes back to almost that stage in your life when things are quite simple. And I kind of see things clearly in a way I didn't. So, I have been really lucky. Yeah.
I don't think you've been lucky. That's what's interesting. From what I hear from you, you've worked hard to get here.
Yeah. Well, so have you.
Don't throw it back at me, Kate.
That's my job. I'm a journalist.
Take it. Take it. because that sounds so lovely, and I'm just thinking about people listening and how appealing that sounds. But the thing I love that you just said is that you are your true, authentic self. I'm interested. Does Cameron feel the same?
I think to a big extent, yeah. He's been through a huge amount, and he was a barrister, and now he's training to be a psychotherapist. And so that is quite a different life. He's made this big change. Yeah. You can have him on next time.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely boy.
Well, I think that's, again, it's like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And we have to go through the hiccup to get to the point where we're ready to make the change, because change is hard.
Yeah.
And it's painful.
And
sometimes it takes work, makes you grow.
Yeah.
All of these things.
Yeah.
I do want to go back a little bit. I might cry now.
Oh, no.
I would like to say thank you to you very quickly. I want to go back and talk about the pill.
Okay.
And the pill documentary and everything that we did.
Mm.
But I was having a think about it earlier. And I watched the beginning of the pill documentary, and then I watched the bit where I had the coil fitted with Leslie.
Oh, yes.
And I was slightly... I didn't realise how triggered I'd get by that, because it happened at One Welbeck.
Mm.
And because of that, because you took me to One Welbeck to get that coil fitted, they asked me to do a menopause talk with Leslie for their staff. Wow. And I did the menopause talk. And then this girl said, "We'd like to offer you a free health check." I said, "I can't share about it because my followers can't afford it. It's like expensive. Yeah. I can't give you anything in return for it." She said, "You've already done that. You did a talk, like," and I was like, but they said they'd do a DEXA scan as part of it and everything. And I thought, I was thinking, I don't really need it. I'm a fitness lady. Like, who's got 2 days to do that? But she was quite insistent, Rupi. I love her. So I said, okay. And they found the brain tumour.
So
it's thanks to you.
It's all
if you hadn't taken me there.
Yeah. That's
thank you.
Well, it's thanks to you too, because it was your idea to do that, and it was an amazingly courageous idea. It's really important. But the universe does those things.
Yes, it does.
It
was so weird watching it back. But that pill documentary, I would like to say, I'm constantly hassling Channel 4 to keep those up on All 4, where people can keep watching these documentaries. Yeah. And then if they're not going to do that, please can we put them on YouTube, where people... And actually the pill documentary is on YouTube. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, right.
In its entirety.
Oh, good.
So if anybody out there who's listening or wants to watch it, they can go and catch it. It's called The Pill Revolution.
Yeah.
And I just would like to talk to you about about the pill journey that women go on, and kind of the scandal of the fact that nothing's changed. Could you just talk us through that a little bit in terms of contraceptives?
Well, basically the pill has got lots of synthetic hormones in them, and most pills do, and synthetic hormones ain't that great for you. They're in a short term, yes, but
when you're saying short term, can I just interrupt you there? When you're saying short term, how short do you mean?
I mean, I think probably you'd be okay going on the pill for 5 or 10 years. But really, in terms of long term, there are risks. And there are the risks that they always thought existed with HRT of things like breast cancer. But also the main thing for me is that synthetic hormones are lowering very young women's hormones at the age of 15.
Yes.
When they go on it for, I've got acne, my periods are all over the shop. And instead of looking at the problem, we just shut the person down and shut their hormones down and give them these synthetic hormones. And they are really bad for mental health. And I think we found that in our survey, that we were looking at about a third of women talking about a mental health problem on the pill. And what alerted you and me to this was our kids and having to deal with all that ourselves, as mums. And my daughter Molly came back in lockdown from Edinburgh University, and she'd been put on a new pill, and it was microgynon or Vagibiome, the basic pill, and had come to London and basically shut herself in her bedroom. And she said, I didn't want to come into the room. I felt I'd darken the room if I came in. You know, she didn't want to come up and eat dinner with us. And she was like a different person. And then her pill ran out in lockdown, and, you know, nobody was bothering getting anything renewed. And a month later, Molly was back, and she was back in the living room, and it had had a massive depressive effect on her mental health. And I just thought, oh, it's COVID, you know, we're all having a hard time. No, she'd really been suffering on the pill and keeping going. And it had never occurred to me that the pill could affect your mental health to that extent. And it turned out that that was true of millions of people.
Millions.
And that the studies were out there, and Molly got right in there and started looking at the Scandinavian studies and researching them. And then we saw huge numbers of women in these giant population studies in Scandinavia who had mental health effects from the synthetic hormones in the pill. And obviously all these progestins are different, and some are better and some are worse. And there's new kinds of pill that have got some really good body identical estrogen in them, slightly better. But none of it is good enough. And we are being treated like, you know, contraception machines. We stop people having babies. Who cares?
Yes.
If, you know, their skin is terrible, they're having horrible mental health problems.
They're not having babies.
Or they're feeling a bit flat. You know, that's the kind of worst thing, that we're flattening out. And there's a real revolution against that. And obviously TikTok and things like that, and the misinformation. So it's so important we should give them the right information. And it's very hard to get that and get people to stand up and talk properly about it. And lots of the research hasn't been done. I mean, I did a book on the pill, and, you know, I was digging and digging and digging to get the information I needed. And it just, nobody had put together the big picture. And we need to keep doing it.
You know, this is the thing about the pill and about the menopause, is that it's almost like almost every single woman will take some kind of contraceptive or use something as a contraceptive at some point in her life. The idea, and every woman will go through the menopause, the idea that every medical professional and every business doesn't know all of this stuff is so insulting.
Yeah.
It's you must be get incensed.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's why we don't sort of stop, isn't it? I would think, why would I get up and put up another menopause post or a pill post this morning? Or why would I look at, you know, and I get alerts to all the new signs. And I just think, oh my God, just got to keep fighting. And it's really important that we fight, and the fight gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But I do see this incredibly positive result around menopause, that ordinary people who were not, you know, doctors
are more aware,
too, but that we really change the conversation. And if we could change the conversation more around the pill, and that's probably for young people to do too.
I mean, the other quite interesting thing that we looked at or talked about was contraceptives for men.
Oh, yeah. And that is still slowly progressing. And we've got it all. We've got a lovely contraceptive shoulder gel for men. And it's just not out there yet. They're still waiting for trial number 3. And the standards of safety are so much higher for men, because we face a risk of pregnancy and they don't face any risks. So the safety standards have got to be hugely high, because they're not preventing anything. And the idea that you don't think of a couple as a unit, and consider that men should take a little bit of the risk too. And the stuff they're being offered is much higher quality than us. Body identical, better progestin, if I may say, in the shoulder gel. And there's pills, and there's all sorts of things that are non-hormonal that are being tested for men that, you know, stop the swimmers. And, you know, that will be great, actually. That will be really great.
That would be helpful, wouldn't it?
You know, they could, if you can put through a COVID vaccine in 3 months, why on earth can't you put through a male pill? Why have we waited since 1960? I mean, it is an outrageous piece of bias. And that's what this whole story is about, is this outrageous bias about women's health and women's suffering.
Well, I love about when we met that I feel like you came out of the womb activist. And I have always been, I hate to bring star signs into it, so pants, but I'm a Libran, and I love balance. And activism is like that, you know, there's no balance, we've got to fight for it. And I'm always like, yes, but what happens if we do this? And maybe we can be balanced, and maybe this is a good way of like looking at something. And when I met you, you lit a fire in my belly.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I was always a bit frightened of being too shouty, or I don't want to upset the balance. But you made me see that it is your Instagram account's Meno scandal. It is a scandal, pill scandal, Meno scandal, scandal for women in health, and it's still going on. And we all know it's happening, and it's still going on, which is even more of a scandal. And I hope that our conversation today has gone some way to make other people feel like they've had a little fire lit in their belly by you and what we've talked about.
And by you?
Well, us.
Here
us.
to cause trouble.
Cause trouble.
We got to do it.
I'd like to sort of finish on this idea that this podcast was started with the idea of being able to die satisfied with our lives. And I feel like you're already there. You're satisfied with what you've achieved in life. Did you think, I want to find purpose? And when did you think, I need a purpose? Or have you always had a purpose?
I think I've always been a bit of a troublemaker, but the particular bit of menopause and women's health was absolutely gripping because the chances for change were so within reach and it was so powerful. And so I suppose it was kind of mini training for this moment. And also that it was sort of magical what happened in that Lorraine Candy gave me your phone number. I rang you and you were driving to Tunbridge Wells. I'm going, menopause, I went mad. Did you go mad? Yeah, I went mad. Yeah, we both went mad. We make a documentary. Well, fuck it, yeah. And you know what I mean? It was sort of a piece of magic. And then you came on and you
Loved it.
took this issue and made it giant size.
We loved it.
But without what you did and your sort of confident intimacy with your own body, with women, there was a thing you did that sitting around talking about the science was never going to do. And the thing you did was sort of emotionally connect. Well, I probably sat there doing the science papers and you emotionally connected the world.
But without you, I would have been nothing.
Story.
You know what I mean? Like it was the brilliant meeting.
Yeah. Yes,
I can't tell you, I was banging on about how excited I was about talking to you today because you changed my life in every way. And I feel like I'm alive today because of you. Like, it's amazing. You've changed my life and you gave me purpose. I love myself because of you.
Oh.
No, honestly, I really mean it.
Oh.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
But you're sitting here, you're going to help other people do that because I think this is what I want this podcast to be.
It's such a good idea.
Purpose.
It's a fantastic idea. And that we rebirth ourselves. It's lovely. It's fantastic.
I love you, Kate Muir.
Oh.
You're amazing. Thank you for everything.
What a dangerous hug.
Thank you.